grading the new hires. And this was pretty interesting to me. Going through all these preseason magazines do this year in and year out. They go through all the new hires and want to rank what happened. Grade them, rank them, however they decide to do it. Well, pretty interesting takeaways here, I think. So let's get to it. And right here, grading the new coaching hires. Lindy's has Jon Sumrall as a 10th best hire, while Athlon has him as the 4th best hire. And they give numeric grades on Lindy's. Goes up to an 11. Lane Kiffin gets that, the only coach who gets that, while Jon Sumrall gets the grade of an 8.0. And you do know right there at the bottom of the page, there is one Billy Napier. I wanted to say, hey, what happened to the former coach? How did they grade that? Well, he's the 27th best hire on Lindy's with a numeric grade of 7. And he's the 19th best hire with a B- grade there at James Madison. But Will, you see some pretty, disparity here of Lindy's and Athlon and what they think about Jon Sumrall compared to the other first-year head coaches. Now, I just don't get it. For Lindy's and how they come up with this, maybe. 10th best kind of just is crazy to me. They got Lane Kiffin number 1 with a grade of an 11. Pete Golding's number 2, 9.5. Bob Chesney, UCLA at a 9. James Franklin, Virginia Tech with a 9. Matt Campbell, Penn State with a 9. Kyle Whittingham at Michigan, 8.5. Pat Fitzgerald at Michigan State with an 8.5. Tosh Lupoy, who's yet to coach a game in his life at Cal with an 8.5. Eric Morris, who Jon Sumrall beat in the conference title game last year, Oklahoma State, he also got a grade of 8, but for whatever reason they put him 9, Jon Sumrall 10. So, all right, you could say Jon Sumrall's 9th as well, I guess, if you wanted to kind of do that. Well, the only thing I can maybe see if they're kind of working in the program prestige and working that into an account as well, Florida's big-time program, you go after Lane Kiffin, but it's Jon Sumrall. Maybe that's the way. Maybe that's the way I see this. But with Pete Golden and Ole Miss and how that works out at him number 2, I don't get it. Bob Chesney, UCLA. That's kind of what maybe lends it to. You can kind of maybe break it up that way. Program prestige. You take that into account. But I still don't agree with Chesney, Fitzgerald, Lupoy, Morris ahead of Sumrall right here. Pat Fitzgerald, I have no idea. Nobody's a fan of that hire except for the people at Lindy's. I listened to a national podcast out there. Everybody just slammed that hire of Pat Fitzgerald. Certainly did some good things at Northwestern. Ended up not working out. Now at Michigan State, nobody's excited about that hire. But I just don't see how Tosh Lupoy, who hasn't coached, he goes to Cal. I didn't think this was some grand slam hire there for Cal. Will Stein, I thought, was at Kentucky, was thought to be kind of the next big thing at offensive coordinator. Him going to Kentucky is not even graded the same as Tosh Lupoy at Cal. Both of them coming from the Dan Lanning Oregon tree there. So I don't know. I don't see Jon Sumrall being a grade of an 8 when Golding's a 9.5, Chesney's a 9, Pat Fitzgerald's 8.5, Tosh Lupoy's 8.5.
It's interesting, right? Because these guys who all end up getting promoted typically have limited resumes, right? You look at Bob Chesney going to UCLA after being a head coach at Holy Cross and then coming over and taking over at James Madison for Cignetti, right? And did he just ride Cignetti's coattails? Like, did Cignetti basically start the engine and Chesney just figured out how not to screw it up? Well, he's not going to be able to do that at UCLA, right? Because he's going to actually have to advance things to a particular space. I think the interesting question becomes if you ask the question, how likely is this person to get the fan base to where they want to be? Mm-hmm. Right. So there, Lane Kiffin, I think he's number 1 in both of these because there's an expectation that it's national championship or bust. And I think a lot of people think Kiffin's going to be able to do that given what he did at Ole Miss. I think James Franklin is high on these lists because Virginia Tech was really good under Frank Beamer, has fallen off considerably. And quite honestly, what he did at Penn State, if he gets Virginia Tech back to that year after year after year, the folks in Blacksburg have been out in the wilderness long enough that will be considered a significant success. That guy will not get fired for winning 10 games in Blacksburg. And the truth is if they'd hired him directly after Frank Beamer, that might have been true, right? He might have won 10 games. They would have run him out of town like they did at Penn State. The Campbell one at Penn State is just awesome. He's been somebody who for years everybody's been like, oh, he's a candidate for this. He's a candidate for this. And then Penn State, he was like the 47th pick for Penn State out of everybody. They were getting turned down by everybody left and right in many ways because of the way they handled the Franklin firing.
Yeah.
And then he just brought Iowa State with him. And it's like, so they're going to be that much better in Happy Valley? That's interesting.
Yeah.
And then the Whittingham one, again, sort of goes back to expectations, right? Like, I think this one's weird because the Michigan expectations are going to be beat Ohio State. But I think outside of Ann Arbor, the expectations are going to be don't sexually harass your staff. And so depending upon which set of expectations you have, could determine where you put him in terms of the rankings. But I mean, he's been talking about retiring for years, right?
Yeah.
Out at Utah. And all of a sudden, Utah isn't meeting his demands from an NIL perspective. He retires, like, what was it, 2 days later, he takes the job at Michigan. It's like, I don't know. And then the Lupoy one, that's just somebody taking a shot, right? Because Cal hasn't ever been good.
Right.
Like, every once in a while they have a Jared Goff or an Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, but beyond that, like, hey, we won 6 games at Cal. Woo. So again, I think it sort of goes back to expectations, right? I mean, that I don't know. I look at this whole list and just get really confused about how they're actually ranking guys. And that doesn't mean that
it wasn't clear. Lindy's didn't really say, but that's what I said. Maybe program stature and expectations. To me, that it has to have something to do with it. It has to. Yeah. For this list for Lindy's to make any sense, because the one from Athlon makes a little more sense. Lane Kiffin number 1, Kyle Whittingham 2, James Franklin 3, Jon Sumrall 4, Eric Morris 5, Matt Campbell at 6, Bob Chesney 7, Charles Huff going to Memphis at 8, Alex Golish going to Auburn 9, Will Stein going to Kentucky. That was number 10.
Yeah, well, I would be very curious to see where Curt Cignetti was ranked 2 years ago when he was hired by Indiana.
I still got my stack of preseason magazines back behind me. That would be an interesting exercise.
Again, where did that guy sit, right? This is sort of the same thing I said about the top 25 rankings, right? Is that
I should just let you talk and go grab them right quick while you did it.
You'd have plenty of time. But but I mean, look, it's what I said about the top 25 rankings, right? Half of the top 25 are not going to be there. Half of these guys, if not 75% of them, are going to be fired 3 years from now or 4 years from now.
Oh, yeah, because Billy Napier was pretty high on the list coming from Louisiana to Florida.
Well, and depending upon how things go, Pete Golding might be fired after this year, right? Like this is one of those where it's like if it just falls apart, like what happens, right? And I think the rest of these guys will get a little bit of time to turn things around, but same thing. Golish is ranked 9th. I love Athlon, A+, and then like 6 straight A's. We got some grade inflation. There's some people going to Harvard over here, and everybody gets like Oprah. Everybody gets a car. Like everybody gets an A, even though we've listed a 1 through 10. I do appreciate that Billy Napier's a B- though. That does sort of make me laugh.
I mean, Lindy's got him as the 27th best new hire.
Well, I mean, that guy's been handed the keys, right? I mean, so Cignetti got that thing really going when they went to Division I. He took him over when they were in the lower division, brought him up to the Division I. Then you got Chesney takes over, keeps it going. They make the playoff last year. They'll obviously get stomped when they make it in there. And now you got Billy Napier taking over. There's no the funny thing is that I think Florida fans have gotten a little irked at some of Napier's perceived shots at Florida's lack of alignment and all sorts of stuff. And he's talked about how everything is situated, but that goes both ways, right? The first time you run the ball on 3rd and 6 to get to 4th and 3, and then don't go for it on 4th and 3. No one will remember that you had better alignment to start the year at JMU. And so I'm really interested to see what happens there. He has been given the keys to a Cadillac. And the question is he going to run it into the wall, or is he going to keep JMU where they've been? I mean, from an opponent's perspective, he should be able to do it. But obviously a lot of those guys transferred out too, right? So there's a lot of roster turnover there as well, just like there is everywhere else at college football. And out of all the things I think you can say about Billy Napier, I think one of them was that he was slow to adjust when it came to player movement and the player movement era that we find ourselves in now. So honestly, this season is going to be fascinating, right? Just from where is Sumrall ranked to Franklin at Virginia Tech, and where can he get them, to Golding at Ole Miss, to can Kiffin meet expectations? rotations.
Yeah.
Guys like Golesh at Auburn and Stein at Kentucky, are they upgrades over the guys they got rid of? And, all the different things that are going on in college football. It's going to be fun, man. These lists are awesome, but I don't know. I'm going to put my neck out on this one and say that they might get fired the exact same year, but that Eric Morris will get fired before Jon Sumrall does. I will.
I'm actually high on Eric Morris just because it's Oklahoma State in the Big 12.
Yeah. Or Tosh Lupoy.
Yeah, Lupoy. All right.
Lupoy will get fired before Jon Sumrall. I'll put a sawbuck on that one.
Yeah. I mean, he is in the ACC. Maybe they take advantage of that too, kind of, but.
Hey, man, does Prize Picks have more or less on seasons these guys will last? Let's do that.
That would be a good one. That would be a good one. Gators Breakdown is brought to you by Prize Picks, and this is a special lineup. I mean, we got the 4th of July coming up, and you know what that means. It's the hot dog eating contest. This blows me away. I didn't know this was going to be available on Prize Picks. So there you go, everybody. I mean, you can build a lineup right here for the hot dog eating contest on July the 4th. I mean, is there any more freedom than that? Being able to hold this event in America, it getting popular, but being able to, go have some fun with it. Make the pick less or more. That's what we're going to do here in Joey Chestnut, of course. That's the name we're going to start with. Less or more, 71 3/4 hot dogs eaten. Less or more. I'm going to go less. I don't think Joey gets there this year. And then, look, I'm not doing any research on this, really. I know his number's about there, around there in years past, but I don't know. So let's go to Jeffrey Esper. Here we go. Less or more, 47 3/4 hot dog eaten. Let's see. Let's go more there. So that's going to be the lineup. I have no idea. We're going to entry fee of $10 on there, and we're going to see what happens. Right here. But guys, there you go. That's how you build a lineup right here on Prize Picks. You can do it too. Play $5, get $50 instantly when you use code HMA and build your lineup. And that's how easy it is. They even got fun categories like this, the hot dog eating contest on July 4th. So there you go. Follow me at GatorDave_GB on Prize Picks. You can keep up with this. We got a few days before we reach this one. So look, there you got MLB along the way, World Cup, all that action right now on Prize Picks. But if you think you know ball or hot dog eating contest, go prove it right there at Prize Picks. So I'm going to read the summary right quick. So for the grade of an 8.0 for Jon Sumrall at 10th, it is labeled a fine hire. And there were a few more in that group, by the way. You got Eric Morris, Oklahoma State, Jon Sumrall, Florida, Morgan Scalley at Utah. That was 11. Ryan Stewartfield at Arkansas was 12. Jim Mora at Colorado State was 13. At 14 was Auburn and Alex Golesh. 15, Jason Kendall in UConn. So that grade was a 7.5. But for Florida and Jon Sumrall, it says the ghost of Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer simply will not leave the swamp. Napier is the latest to be chased out after a star-crossed and never comfortable tenure in Gainesville. His 4-year 22-23 mark was especially distasteful. Now it's Sumrall's turn, and he surmises that his 2 years at Tulane have him better prepared for the challenge than if he had made the jump straight from the Sun Belt as Napier did. That's an interesting aspect there, Will. For while it was 4 years at Louisiana for Napier, but it was 4 years before the Florida job for Sumrall as well, but at two different institutions, two different levels of play. And then for Athlon, having Jon Sumrall at number 4, Sumrall won at least 9 games in every season as a head coach and stops at Troy and Tulane and compiled a 43-12 record overall. After taking the Green Wave to an appearance in the college football playoff last year, Sumrall's next task is to help Florida get back on track at the national level.
Well, so I did go look. Google or Athlon had an A- grade for Signetti. So he would have been down around Golesh and Will Stein coming in. So that's sort of where he would have been.
Okay.
I think the 2 stops versus the 1 is an interesting place to sit for a little bit, maybe. I actually think the interesting part is what that means is that Sumrall has had to rebuild a team in this era.
Yep.
And then if you look at Napier at Louisiana, he never had to do that. and the things that the missteps from the Rashada and the NIL stuff there, from sort of the roster building, and do we spend money on high school recruits versus do we spend it in the transfer portal? From the standpoint of, I think, we all were excited about DJ Lagway, but he was really a year late in terms of when they needed him to come into the program. Like, his recruiting class was that third year, not the second one, which meant that by the time Lagway was in there, all the pressure was on his shoulders. And he sort of talked about how that was a lot. And so to me, that's the advantage. The advantage isn't necessarily that he was at Troy and then he was at Tulane. The advantage is that he had to build a program at Tulane in an era when other programs were trying to come in and steal your guys, right? And so it's not now you build it differently at Florida than you would at Tulane, right? I mean, at Tulane, you're trying to figure out maybe who's going to stay at Tulane long term, or you're trying to figure out, okay, Darian Mensah left. What do I do at quarterback now? And like, it's still, but my point is that it's a roster building, problem solving exercise that Napier never really had to go through at Louisiana. The big boys weren't coming down and raking the players from the Sun Belt in the same way that they do these days.
Right. I was going to go to that too. That's why I don't know if he'll be successful with James Madison. Well, because as soon as now maybe it wasn't Cignetti and Chesney in the way they did it, but would that roster be rated as well for higher programs? I know James Madison still made the playoff, but they're still not thought of as an SEC Big Ten type of roster. So Napier didn't have to deal with, going to your point, Osiris Torrance he had to poach Osiris Torrance to come to Florida, but he didn't have to deal with that. So this time in the Sun Belt now is much different than it was when he was at Louisiana.
Yeah, well, and I think the other part of that is that, look, from all available evidence, Napier seems like a decent person. Maybe that's not true. I don't know. I never met the guy, but I do wonder whether maybe he was just too nice for what was necessary in the SEC, right? Well, I don't want to take my entire Louisiana team with me. I'm just going to go poach the guys who were going to leave anyway. It's like, well, then you look at Golesh, he took all of USF. Right. And you look at Campbell, he just took all of Iowa State, right? And those guys are cutthroat enough to say, I'm going to go raid the cupboard of the people that I know. Cignetti did the same thing at JMU, right? And so to me, that's that competitiveness aspect of Sumrall is what I'm sort of looking at when it comes to that, is that, okay, like, he did not go raid Tulane. He seemed to have a legitimate affection for them. At the same time, were there guys on the Tulane roster who were specific upgrades for the Florida roster? I don't know if that's true, right? I think Indiana clearly needed talent upgrades, right? You look at Auburn, they clearly need talent upgrades. Penn State, after what they had, and really kind of the mass exodus of people who left because Franklin left, needed the talent upgrade from Iowa State. So, that cutthroat nature that's necessary. I mean, look, Urban Meyer has his warts, certainly, but no one's going to accuse him of not being willing to do what's necessary to win. I think Saban was the same way. I think Kirby Smart's the same way. I don't think Napier's wired that way. And so, maybe that's one of the reasons why he'll succeed at James Madison, right? Is that he'll be sitting there helping his guys get to that next level, and he'll be able to build something where, hey, we're fine bringing guys in, freshmen, sophomores, and then congratulating them as they go to the big boys and basically be the minor leagues for those, use them for the wins while you got them. And then, but you're not necessarily competing for the top dollar with those guys, because if they were as good, if they were good enough to play at Auburn or Florida day one, they wouldn't be going to JMU. Right. And so, look, I think there's that, to me, though, is the big distinction when you start looking at this, when you look at Napier versus Sumrall, is Sumrall's had to build a program in the NIL era. And, he didn't have something that was already built up in the NIL era. And Napier showed he couldn't build something in the NIL era, at least at a big boy. Sumrall hasn't done that yet, right? But certainly he took the team to the playoff and was able to take Tulane. Nothing fell off when he took over Tulane, and they were able to win a bunch of games there. And so that gives us, I think, encouragement that, he'll be able to pivot and adjust, and especially with the help of a general manager, allocate resources in a way that allows his offensive coordinator to succeed, which is the other part that Billy Napier was missing as well.
Yeah. Seem to now go hire a play calling OC. We'll see. It is time. To get your read and reaction 2026 preview. It is out right now. the only preseason magazine dedicated solely to the Florida Gators. If you want a full deep dive into Jon Sumrall's first year, Florida's roster reset, Buster Faulkner's offense, quarterback battle, NIL roster building, where the Gators fit in the modern SEC, this is the one to get. No better way to get ready for the 2026 Florida Gator football season. Find it now on Amazon. Link is in the description. Or if you want that digital version, you can head to readandreaction.com/mag.